Good evening, everyone. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Again, my name is Fernando Castillo. I am from St. John's Christian Church, right there in Groton, by Branford Manor and Groton Estates. We're right in the middle. Perfect place to be. We have plenty of people to witness to there. And we're just a non-denominational church. And again, we just love the Lord, and we love to be there. So, ever in the area, come stop by. We'll welcome you with open arms. So today, the subject of conflict, right? So it's going to be kind of two areas. So conflict as far as your life, but also conflict in the workplace, right? This is work and learn. You get conflict in the workplace, right? So the first thing I want you guys all to do, right, is start imagining your last conflict. Just think about it. Think about the last conflict, either it was with your wife, your children, your grandchildren, somebody at work, somebody. Imagine that right now, how you handled it. Because we can't go forth unless you know how you handled it. So as we go forth and learning how God wants us to handle it, you can compare the two, right? So just imagine your conflict. How did you handle that one conflict between you and anybody else? All right? Keep that in your mind. Through the whole thing, just keep that in your mind. How did I handle this conflict? And before we discuss conflict, I want to discuss prevention. Okay? And through my life, again, I wasn't always a Christian, I've had many, many conflicts. And the one thing I've learned is if I set my standards, it prevents conflict. Let me explain. I'll tell you a story, right? I was at work, and my boss took a day off. So his boss took over. Now his boss doesn't really know what we do, how we do it, doesn't really know. And again, I work for the Navy, so we were doing preventative maintenance, right? Normally, that maintenance is up to me, because I'm the worker. And since my boss wasn't there, I told the guys, because it involved everybody, hey, we're going to do it tomorrow. Because like that, we have everybody set, and nobody started work, so we can just get it done quickly. Well, the boss, right, again, he don't know what's going on, told everybody but me that we're doing it at 12. So 12 comes by, I don't know, he didn't tell me nothing, and 12 rolls by. He gets on the radio, I have radios at work, and he says, well, Fernando, are we doing this preventive maintenance? And I said, no, sir, we're going to do it tomorrow. He gets on the radio, and he starts screaming and cursing. Who told you you're going to do it tomorrow? Who do you think you are? And just all over the radio. Everybody has radio, so everybody's hearing this. And I stop, and I say, I got that, sir. And I went ahead and did it. But here's where I set my standard. After I'm done, I walked to his office, kindly, and I said, sir, for future reference, I will not be spoken that way. This is not how me and you are going to interact. I've never disrespected you, and you will not disrespect me. You will not curse at me. You will not raise your voice at me. You will respect me as I respect you. He told me to get out of his office. He told me to just shut up, get out of here, all this. And I repeated myself, again, you have to do it with kindness, because that's the only way they hear it. Mm-hmm. And I said it again, and I confirmed with him. I said, do you understand where I'm coming from? He said, out of my office. I don't need to hear this. I'm busy. Get out. I said, okay. And I left it at that. Next day, I'm walking through the pump rooms. I work on a ship. We have pump rooms. And he stops me privately. can I speak to you? And I'm like, okay, well, what is it? And he pulls me aside and he goes, I think I messed up. I said, what? He said, I don't think I spoke to you right yesterday. It's that, his excuse was, well, with the other guys, that's how I interact. Well, I said, sir, that's not my standard. My standard is I respect people. I don't scream at people. I don't curse at people. There's no need for it. So I just want the respect that I'm giving you. He goes, you know what? You're right. I'm so sorry. And since then, if he had a problem with me, he would pull me in his office and we would speak. So just by setting a standard, even though he threw me out of his office, cursed me out, I got an apology. And since then, the conflict doesn't even start. So just think of it, when you have conflict in your life, prevention is the first thing. Set your standards. How people treat you. You get to choose how people treat you. Some people, yes, they're going to cross that line. They're going to push you that far. And not apology, no apologies, no nothing, but you still set your standards. You go to them kindly, with love, and you tell them your standard. And for the most part, people are going to respect that standard because you set it. But now if you ignore it, if you ignore that standard, so somebody does something you dislike, you say nothing. You're quiet. Now what? He does it again. Now what? He does it again. Now what? He does it again. By the fifth time, you're sick and tired of this guy, and you didn't tell him once, but now you are angry at him. Well, he don't know. He don't know that that's not the way you want to be treated. You have to let them know. So I urge you, if you ever want to deal with conflict, set a standard. God set a standard with us. He says it throughout the book. Jesus himself set standards of how we live. Why? Because he expects something. And we have to do the same thing. We have to set standards for other people so they can treat us the way we choose to be treated. If you say nothing, they don't know. You can't assume that they know. Maybe they weren't raised that way. Maybe that's how they handle conflict. But you don't. So the first thing always, I would say, just preventative. Set your standard. Like that, everybody knows where you're coming from. Next thing, let's go into the lesson actually. If you go to your page, it says conflict. I'm going to go to 1, right?
Page 61, the verses.
Yeah, it's going to be James 4, 1 through 4. Right? Then I'll read. What causes quarrels and what causes fights among you? Is it not this that your passions are at war with you? You desire and you do not have, so you murder. You covet and cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and you do not receive because you ask wrongly, to spend it on your passions. You adulterous people, do you not know the friendship with the world is enmity with God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. Right? So again, James 4, he's telling you about the conflict. What is the source of fights? He says, the source of fights are passions, your passions, and your self-centeredness, your desires. Okay? What you covet, what you hold strong to. Sometimes that's just ourselves, our flesh coming out and just, this is what I want, this is how I want it. Well, you know what? It's not always about you. It's not. It's not always about you. You have to think about what's best for that situation. Okay? And then the second one is, why don't we get what we want? Well, guess what? Not everything we want is pleasing to God. Simple as that. Sometimes we even pray that way. Oh, God, I want this. Oh, God, I want that. Well, is it pleasing to God? Is it in God's will for you to have that? Maybe not. I can ask God for $1 million, but if it's not in his will, he ain't going to give it to me. I would love it, but he's not going to give it to me because that's not what he wants. It's what he wants in your life.
Amen.
And instead of praying for the wants, we should be praying for the honor of God, the kingdom, other people, family. That's his will, for us to pray about things other than ourselves. Because a lot of times we are very self-centered and everything is about I want, I want, I want. But if you trust, he'll take care of you.
That's right.
He'll take care of you. And in verse 4, I love this, but verse 4, which is going to be your greatest conflict. You adulterous people, right? And in Old Testament, you adulterous people are people that going against God. That's what he's talking about. Any believer that's going against God, you're adulterous. You're cheating on him, right? Do you know that the friendship with the world is enmity with God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. So you have to choose. You have to pick a side. Either you're going to be a friend to the world, or you're going to serve God. Which one do you choose? That's going to be your greatest conflict in your life. Do I serve God or do I serve the world? Because your flesh wants to serve the world. I want the money, I want this, I want that, I want the latest this. Or do you give that to the poor? Or do you go feed the poor? Or do you go watch movies? That greatest conflict is just serving God or being a friend of the world. That's going to be your greatest conflict. In here. That's the greatest conflict you'll ever deal with. And I don't think anyone is completely one-sided yet. Because it always rears its ugly head. And you're just like, oh, man, I can do better. I can do better. I can do better. But that is your greatest conflict. Number 2, right? Romans 12:18. Let's get to there. Romans. Romans 12:18. It says, right? And the question is, what is my responsibility regarding conflict with others? If possible, one evil for another, but give thought to if possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceable with all. Let me tell you a key word. It says, if possible. Guess what? Not everybody's going to live in peace with you. Some people are going to be against you, no matter what. No matter what you do. You can love them. You can give them everything they want. They will go at war with you no matter what. But if possible, that means you have to try. If possible, live in peace with everyone. Try to live in peace. Sometimes you have to just give and take to somebody you don't like. But guess what? If you're in a workplace and you have that peace between them, maybe you don't like each other. Maybe you're just co-workers. But if you have that peace with each other, all right? So peace with all. We need to be peace with all, believers and non-believers. We need to be in peace with all, right? So that's your responsibility regarding conflict, is to be in peace. And then now, number 3, if another person has something against you, what shall you do? Right? And God, if you go to Matthew 5:23 through 26, so if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are going with him to court, lest your accusers hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you be put in prison. Truly, I say unto you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny. So the first thing he's telling you is, first, be reconciled. Okay? Reconciled. So it's re. Remember, God has set the foundation of the world. We are all in unity. So for us to have conflict and come back to unity, we are reconciled. We started off unified. We are unified. You know how some people say, oh, we got to be unified. No, God said we're unified as believers. Right? We're unified. That's it. You are united. You just got to act like that sometimes. So that's the first thing, right? So we got to be reconciled. Sometimes we are the reasons for the conflict. Sometimes we're the reason. We initiated. We did something we're not supposed to. So if you're going to go to God and you start thinking, man, I think I upset him, or I think I made the mistake, and trust me, God will bring that to the forethought, and you're going to be like, okay, I have to fix this. So God says, just leave your gift, leave your praise, leave it there. Go to your brother. Fix it. Fix it. No reason we can't fix it. No reason you can't sit down with your brother and say, look, my bad. I apologize. I'm sorry. Some people find it hard to do that. I find it pretty easy. Just sorry. What's that one word? Sorry. I really do. Because you have to think, man, if I did that to myself, I'd be really angry. But now I'm not going to apologize for what I did because I did it. So first be reconciled, right? And he uses the example of being judged in a court. So he's saying if you don't get reconciled, you'll be like somebody that's guilty and you'll be in prison. And until you pay the last penny, you're going to keep thinking about that. Oh, man, I upset him. Oh, I have a problem with him. A grudge, pretty much. You're going to have a grudge. And God said, until you repay it to the last penny, till you fully give up this grudge, you're going to be imprisoned. And you know what's sad? We put ourselves there.
Right.
We put ourselves there. There's no reason to put yourself in prison. If you have a grudge, talk it out, work it out. Ask for forgiveness. Maybe he did something. He'll be like, you know what? It was my fault too. We had a conflict. I went this way, you went that way. It didn't work. But don't hold yourself prisoner with a grudge, because you're only hurting yourself. You're only hurting yourself. I mean, I've had a grudge. I know that, and I think about it, and I sulk on it, and I get mad, and then I get all kinds of emotions. Oh man, what did I do? Well, I did it because I was right. Well, no, I was right, but I still did it wrong. It goes in my head when I mess up, especially when I mess up. And I think about it. I think most people do. I think most people, man, I could have handled that better. But I was right, and then we get stuck on that. But I was right. Yeah, but you probably handled it totally incorrectly. You could be right and still do it wrong. You could do it wrong and be right. It happens. It happens. And you can never get out. You just get stuck there. Stuck. It's stuck right here in your mind. And people, don't think that your mind can be a trap, but it can be. So if another person has something against you, what should you do? Well, find them. Go to them. Sometimes it's hard, but I'm telling you right now, you can gain a brother. You can gain a great friend by doing that. Because a lot of people will respect you more. Man, he came up to me, he apologized. Man, that's a guy I want to be friends with. That's a guy I want to be around. He can admit his own faults. Because I know if someone's wrong and I don't say nothing and they can't admit they're wrong, do I really want to be around them? No. You're just like, man, he can't admit his own faults. How can I trust him? How can I be around him? How can I depend on him to tell me if I'm wrong? We need that. You need to have people around you that's going to tell you, hey, no, that wasn't okay. That wasn't okay. Which is good. You need that. Sometimes you don't realize it yourself, or you're saying something wrong and they go, You need those people in your life. That's gonna tell you straight up, this is how it is. All right, let's go to 4, right? Matthew 18, 15 through 20. How is conflict to be resolved? How is conflict to be resolved? And this verse is, a lot of churches use it to kind of, it's like a guideline to almost, you kind of say, discipline, certain people when they're not doing things of God. But it's still a good verse because it gives you the exact guidelines to handle conflict. So it says, 15, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his faults between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you've gained your brother. But if he doesn't listen, take 1 or 2 others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church, and if he refuses to listen even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. So first thing, if your brother sins against you, go tell him his faults between you and him. You and him. You know what that does? It avoids rumors. It avoids misunderstandings. If I go to you as a man and I say, this is my issue, this is my problem, you don't have to hear from nobody else. This is me, this is our conflict, I want to resolve this. It cuts all the other nonsense out of the picture, which is great. You go to the person. And if he listens and you guys could come to an agreement, you just gained a brother. You just gained somebody that you can trust. Maybe he can trust you. Maybe he needs help, and you can reach out. I mean, it could be so many other things. But that's the main thing. It cuts rumors, cuts the misunderstanding. You get to the point, you get the root of the problem, and you can handle it right there.
Amen.
Some people, that don't work. So you go to the next step. Like I said, it's a good guideline. Next step, right? It says, but if he does not listen, take 1 or 2 others along with you, that every charge may be established by evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. That's key. It says evidence, okay? So if he did something wrong, you need people to back you up, almost like an intervention of people that were there, that saw it, okay? Not just a random person, but people that were there and could say, hey, okay, here's the conflict, and I can see the differences, and we're coming to you as almost an intervention. Interventions work. Okay? Sometimes it takes a second or third opinion for somebody to just get it. You know what? All right, I see what you guys are saying. You said it to me, I ignored you, but now you have these 2 and they're saying the same thing. I think you got a point. Let me think about it. Let me figure it out. Let's figure it out as brothers, right? That's what you want to do. Even coworkers. You might have to grab a call to coworkers. Hey, we're going to go talk to this guy at lunch. I have a problem with him. You saw what he did. Let's just try to get him. I'll buy him lunch and we'll figure this out, because I don't want the problem. I don't want the conflict. You know what I mean? I don't want to walk the halls he came and looked me in the eyes. I don't want that. I want to say, hey, how you doing? You had a good day? Good. You want that camaraderie, because in the workplace, you got to work together. You have to depend on one another. You have to depend on one another. Like me, I docked submarines, right? Docked submarine 2 weeks ago, right? And one of the, it's called bit, that was holding the submarine popped. 80 pounds. Popped a foot away from my face. And dropped right there. And thank God for the other guy that was right next to me. Not only did he grab the rope so it didn't land on me, but he also threw another rope that we didn't destroy the submarine, because the submarine was shifting. So me and him worked together. Within 30 seconds, we had control of the submarine. But he has to depend on me and I have to depend on him. Because sometimes certain works, certain jobs, your life depends on it. You think if we had a problem that he would be like, well, whatever, it's Fernando. He could have. And I'd be in the hospital right now. I'll tell you that right now. But he didn't. He did his job. And he probably saved my life. But those are the things you need to have, especially in the workplace. Especially. Because in the workplace it's more difficult. You know, at a church you have, you know, but in the workplace he might be an unbeliever. The guy, he's an unbeliever. He knows nothing about God. But he has my back. Why? It's the respect. It's you know, we work together well. We treat each other with respect. Move on to the next. So it says, what are the 3 steps in conflict resolution if the brother or sister does not wish to reconcile? Well, we already said it, right? So you go to him privately, or you can bring, next step is bring out witnesses. The next step, tell the church. Well, the church is the body, right? All believers together is the church. So you can bring a group. Or at work, you can bring maybe a supervisor in and say, hey, can you mediate this until we get this figured out, because this is not, it's not how I want it. You know what I mean? And some people get mad, some people don't, but sometimes it works. Truly does. You know? But as long as you're giving the effort in every step, you're giving the effort to reconcile, you're giving the effort to just dissolve the conflict, that's what counts. So at the end of the day, you can say, hey, I tried everything possible to resolve this conflict. I tried. I gave it all I could. And that's what you want. You want, you know, yourself to say, okay, I tried everything I could. All right. 5, when someone is angry with you, how should you respond? How should you respond? Proverbs 15:1. 15:1. 15:1. A soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up. Remember, we're following his word. So if we follow his word, remember his guidelines to how resolve a conflict, when we're done, it's up to him. We did exactly what he told us to do. He said himself, okay, this is what I did, put it up. Okay, go ahead. God, this is up to you. But thank you for bringing that. That's a good point. And again, let's go. When someone is angry with you, how should you respond? So again, remember my story from the beginning? He was cursing at me. He was screaming at me, kicking me out of his office. I didn't speak harshly. I didn't raise my voice. I calmly, and that's the key, calmly, you express yourself. Calmly, right? You have to control. It's all about control. Control of your emotions. Maybe you are emotional. But we all have the ability to control it. Don't let no one fool you. You have the ability to control it. And a lot of times you have to exercise that to get used to controlling that ability. Sometimes we're just out of practice. So we just, well, no, control. Control. Right? And when we respond, we got to do it with love and gentleness. Because that's the only time they hear. Because if you respond, they don't hear. They just close their blinders right there. They're coming after you. But if you do it with love and gentleness, they usually back up and go, whoa, what is this? This is something new. I'm not used to this. You know? Because most people are not used to people coming at them with love and gentleness when they're screaming at you. I'm screaming at you, you're gonna come to me with love and gentleness? What? Are you crazy? Some people will tell you, you're crazy.
Yes.
Well, God bless you anyway. What? You know, and that's just how they react. But I guarantee you they'll think about that. They'll think about it when they leave, when the conflict's over. They'll be like, I can't believe he did. How did he do that? How? I want to know how. And guess what? Maybe he'll come to you and go, how did you do it? Well, let me introduce you to this guy named Jesus. This is how. This is how. This is how I can control myself. This is how I can speak to you with love till now. Even though you disrespected me, even though you cursed me out, even though you swung at me, and I still spoke to you with love. This is how. People are amazed when you do that. People are amazed. They're just like, I just don't understand. How do you keep your emotions in check? All right. So next question. How should we treat other people? How do we treat other people? Galatians 5:14. You guys want to turn to that? Galatians 5:14. For the whole law is fulfilled in one word, or words. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. The golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated. Love others as you want to be loved. The golden rule. This is how we treat other people. And it's hard. It's very hard. It's hard to love people that don't want to be loved. It's hard. All right. Next one. What characteristics should God chosen people have? Right? Colossians 3:12-14. How much you got? Oh, I got 2 minutes? All right. This is the last one because this is, I think, one of the most important ones. So Colossians 3 talks about a lifestyle, right? Talks about holy lifestyle. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about holy lifestyle. It's talking about being holy, having a compassionate heart, being kind, having humility, meekness, patience, bearing with one another, forgiveness, and striving for perfect harmony, and most important, love. It's about having a lifestyle. This lifestyle that we choose when we accept Jesus in our lives. Okay? That's the lifestyle. And as we go through life, we have these things and we practice these things. Are we going to be perfect in these things? No. That's why we say striving for perfect harmony with others. We're striving. We're striving to be perfect. We're striving to be perfect in harmony with everybody else. We're striving. Are we ever going to get there? Probably not. But we're going to strive. You're going to act like it. Okay? You're going to try to be holy. You're going to try to have a compassionate heart, kindness, humility, meekness, patience, bearing one another, forgiving people, loving people. You got to put this in practice. Are you going to do it every time? No. But eventually you'll get it. And that will be your lifestyle. That's just how you live. That's who you are. And then your identity becomes Jesus. Him himself. How he acted, how he came to the earth and responded to people. The more you practice, and the more you practice these things, the more you become that in which we believe.